do not want to miss that. But in the meantime, let's bring in our brother, our friend Mike Giardi. Nate Burleson started the show by saying that Bill Belichick is the most interesting figure in the 2021 draft. Mike, welcome. Good morning. Set the stage for us in New England. What is priority number one, first on the Patriots' to-do list ahead of this draft?
Well, because, Kyle, they spent so much money in free agency, there's not any glaring needs except for one. And that, of course, is the quarterback position, the most important position in all of pro sports. They feel pretty comfortable with Cam Newton, but obviously they did not pay Cam Newton like he was this no-doubt starter. Jared Stidham has come in. He's led some off-season workouts. He's here for the OTAs right now that are voluntary. They feel pretty good about where he's at right now, although, again, we talked about that last year, and you saw how it went. To me, it's very interesting because I still think there are people in that building that look at San Francisco and how San Francisco drafts and what happens to Jimmy Garoppolo. There are still people in that building that believe Jimmy Garoppolo is the missing piece to bring back. You don't have to draft a quarterback in the first round. You can wait till later to draft a quarterback in the future. But the quarterback for now could be the guy in San Francisco should they make him available. Otherwise, you start looking around and you say, hey, both of their tackles are in the final year of their deals. If the Patriots don't pick up Isaiah Wynn's 50-year option, Trent Brown signed essentially for 1 year. They're getting a little bit old at safety, at least at the most important safety spot, that being Devin McCourty. Devin's in the last year of his contract. That might be something they look to address. And defensive tackle. They got run on last year. Yes, they spent some money in the offseason, but it's all short-term money. So if there's a long-term chip at defensive tackle that they like, maybe that's the route they go.
Giardi, I could clown on you right now for talking up Jimmy Garoppolo, as you always do and have done for 5 years, but I will not because I love you so much. I did note that you called Devin McCourty old, and I'll be sure to tell him that later. Talk to me about this draft. Many a mock have the Patriots trading up, moving up, taking, whether it's a quarterback or wide receiver, whatever. What is the actual possibility that New England seeks a trade to get a higher draft pick Thursday?
I think, again, it's more likely that they move back, which is probably not what anyone in New England wants to hear, than move up, depending on who falls. And obviously, if the 5 quarterbacks all go in the top 9 or 10 picks, there might be an opportunity that the Patriots normally don't get. They haven't drafted this high since 2008. That's when they picked Gerard Mayo 10th overall in the draft and actually traded back from 7 to 10 to get Mayo. But they're never really in this position. So as Bill Belichick talked about, there's actually less options at 15 than where the Patriots normally pick, which is 29, 30, 32, etc., in the sense that some of the higher rated players could still be on that board, and that could be beneficial to them. And that's where I could see maybe, hey, someone all of a sudden is at 12 or 13, and they say, look, that guy's a no-doubter. He's going to come in and play for us right away and make an impact right away. Then maybe they take that step up just a little bit, but I don't think they're going into the top 10. It would surprise me if it's going to cost another first-round pick to do something like that. I just don't think that is something that Bill's shown he's ever wanted to do. Although, again, obviously, they had a quarterback for 20 years, and now they don't.
That's fair. Giardi, stick around here. I'm going to bring Schrager into the mix and the guys as well. What do you think the Patriots should do? They could trade up. A guy could fall to them. How do they value guys like Mac Jones? What are they looking for?
First, I think Mike is spot on, and I think Garoppolo is still an option. I don't know if San Francisco would be willing to trade him for anything less than a first-round pick, and that won't be the case. If San Francisco bends and says a second or maybe even a third-round pick because we've already just got our guy, that's when those conversations really happen. Yeah, I think everyone up in New England, including Mike and a lot of the guys there, have a real beat on it. This March spending spree completely throws my head into a tizzy with the Patriots. Like, it was so against what they've always done, where we can look at the references to what they've done in recent free agency years, and this one was so different. It wasn't like they got Jonnu Smith and that was enough. Then they had to go and get Hunter Henry. It wasn't like they went and got Kendrick Bourne. No, then they went and got Nelson Aguilar. I felt like they were so active and they were pushing it so hard that it felt like it was a very different year. So I think they would trade into the top 10. They never want to be at the 15th pick again. They never want to be higher than the 15th pick again. Belichick's, nearing in on like the final stage of his career as a coach. Like, I feel like if ever there was a time, it's now. You trade up a little bit, and if Lance or Fields is available, you move up to Detroit, you move up to Carolina, maybe even move up to Philly at 12, and you get one of those guys. So I have no inside sources telling me that they're going up and trading, and I listened to Mike spot on when he's saying he doesn't think top 10. I just don't think what we've seen in recent years and in the last 20 years really should be viewed as a pattern for what we're looking at in 2021. It's a different time in Patriots history.
No doubt about it. They're ultra aggressive. I say stay put. Don't panic. Stay at 15 and find the best player available. They're in a privileged position because 15 is a sweet spot. And on top of that, they made a lot of moves in the offseason. So it's not like they're thirsting to drive a home run out of the park in the draft. You know, and I feel like when it comes to that third quarterback, whether it's Mac Jones, Fields, or Trey Lance, the Patriots could grab that individual, have him sit behind Cam Newton, and learn the system. Regardless of what we're thinking, even if they don't go and find a quarterback, how likely is it that a quarterback is going to come in as a rookie in one offseason and learn the Patriots playbook? It's just not going to happen. So whoever they bring in is going to have to sit back and learn the system before they actually are thrown into the fire.
It's a pivotal year for the Patriots. They took a lot of shots last year. We don't know what's going to happen now post-Brady. If they get Lance or if they get Fields, the chances that that player turns out to be a good player for the coin flip at best. And not just first year. I'm talking about ever.
Right.
There is a player that they know is good, that they know works for them, that they have history with, and I would do everything for Garoppolo. I'm way into that, especially since, think of the Niners pick. If the Niners take Mac Jones, Pelissero was talking earlier in the show about the most pro-ready, the most likely to start right away, day one. That's a different story than if they take Trey Lance. Maybe they're more prone or more likely to trade Garoppolo if they have mini Garoppolo and Mac Jones. We got a guy who can start right away, and the Patriots are willing to give us a pick. We'll figure out what it is. Forget the Niners for a second. In New England, I'm lying down in traffic for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's immediately we could go to the title game this year with Garoppolo, with our opt-outs back and our
Would you trade the 15th pick overall? Would you trade the first-round pick for Jimmy?
I personally would. In a proven commodity starting quarterback, that's cheap. But listen, it doesn't read well, and you feel like, oh, first-round pick, did I win it? I would for Jimmy Garoppolo. I would right now. Maybe not every other team. Maybe not any other team. New England, yes, I think I would do everything for him, and maybe they will.
Giardi, your affinity for Jimmy Garoppolo has been well documented. What do you think of this? Also, I'm hearing these Mac Jones comparisons to a more athletic Tom Brady. What say you?
Well, it's interesting to me because I think, too, and I think people in New England view it this way inside that building, that if Mac Jones is the pick, then Jimmy probably gets kicked free. And no matter what San Francisco says, and I know Peter reported first-round pick is what they're asking. I would assume that price would come down if Mac Jones is the pick. Why do you want to pay Jimmy Garoppolo $27 million, I believe it is, to sit on the bench? Because I think Mac Jones will come in, he'll embrace that system, and by week 2, 3, 4, he's your starting quarterback. And to me, for San Francisco, it's pretty easy. It's a guy like Gardner Minshew, who's played a bunch of football games this year, the last couple of years in the league. He's available. There are some ties with the Shanahan system. He could come in and be that backup with some experience. So to me, they can move on very quickly and make that happen. And I would say this from the Patriots' perspective, to what Peter's point was, 20 years, yeah, we did have a blueprint. This is different. That free agency was different. So yeah, if there was ever a year to do it, but then you start to look at some of the holes. And again, their third-round pick, they lost it because of a Do Your Job documentary where they were filming the Cincinnati Bengals sidelines. They got that pick stripped from him. They have the 96th pick instead of a mid-70s pick that they would have had normally. That could be an area where you say, you know what, if we slide back, maybe we pick up that third, and we get a few more kicks at the can.
Nick Caserio also not there, beginning of a